Hello, my name is Tessa, and welcome back to the Silent Zone. So today, I'm going to be talking about outer space. Outer space is fine. I'll link all the resources I used in this video in the description. But space is fine as the near the relatively empty regions of the universe outside the atmosphere of celestial bodies. And from my understanding, that means, and as we all know, the basics, there's no gravity in space, there's no air, you're in space without, but even if you held your breath, you'd still die, because, you either freeze to death, or you'd or you'd burn to death, depending on which side of the sun you're on. Yes, and, we made several space explorations. Neil Armstrong, the first on the moon, and John something. I forget what his name was. Of course, I forget. He was the first person in space, possibly, but the moon, first person outside of a rocket on the moon was Neil Armstrong, as we all know. Now, for specific definition on outer space. Outer space is thought to be in about 62 miles or 100 kilometers above sea level at what is known as the Kármán line. This is an imaginary boundary at an altitude where there is no appreciable air to breathe or scatter light. It takes roughly 5.8 trillion miles or 93 trillion kilometers to travel a light year, which is how light is measured in space. You can see about almost 13.8 billion light years into space. I know there's probably, for all the astrologists or astronomists or people that study space, probably videos. This is just a basic debunking of overall space. If you're thinking I'm missing something. When we have light years, this is not confirmed, so don't go by believing this, but I think by the time a star's light has reached us, it is already gone. The star has already burned out. We know there are around 9 planets. Pluto used to be a planet, but it's not anymore. It's too small. It's a dwarf planet. And I heard there's another planet, but it's too big for us to see. I don't know how that works, but it does. And then you have the planets. Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, Mars, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto is not a planet. If I'm missing something, forgive me. And then you have stars, you have comets, and then you have black holes. And I think I've heard of white holes. White hole is, to give a brief description, a white hole is like the opposite of a black hole. Like, stuff goes into black holes and it doesn't come out. But white holes sometimes spit things out, and go into black holes. I think it's more of a new discovery, but we know black holes have event horizons. And event horizons, as people know, an event horizon is the point of where if something gets stuck in the event horizon, it's not going. The black hole will have to suck it up. But luckily, I don't think that's ever happened to any person, just like meteors. I hope. So outer space is pretty cool. It's different. And from my understanding, it's very interesting. We've seen space shows and stuff, but those are what we know about space is only like a fraction of all the stuff in space. There's a lot to learn about space, and we spent billions of dollars probably making rockets and finding ways into space. And yeah, it's our human nature to be curious about space and the stuff that is in it. Oh, and I forgot to mention we have the sun and the moon. We know what the sun is. Don't look at the sun, people. Don't look at the sun in space. I think your face burns off. But that's why we have astronaut suits. Don't get too close to the sun or you'll burn up. Oh yeah, and Venus, as people know, has one cold side that's away from the sun and then one warm side. And I know that Mars at night is about negative 200 degrees. I think it's warmer in the day. Something to do with the sun pointing at it, but maybe, I think only one side of Mars is at night, like Earth. Like, depending on where the sun is. Kind of like how Earth has its different time zones and its different areas. Like, a part of Earth right now is probably super dark. Because right now, for me, it's about 4:30. And it's, sun is still out. I live in the US, and I'm sure people in Australia or people on the other side of the world, it's probably like 4:30 in the morning for them. What, depending on where you are, it could be light out. And for some people, it's winter. Same thing with change of seasons. But, enough about Earth. Because, well, Earth is only one of the planets. The only planet I think we've explored, and then you have the moon. And the moon is not made of cheese. Yes, this is, like, confirmed. But there is moon cheese, but that is freeze-dried cheese. I actually had it. It's kind of good. That's just my opinion. And you can't survive in space for very long without any form of oxygen. And you need fresh air in space. And, yeah, the only fun fact, people have to take oxygen tanks into space, but, and they don't have, and if you don't put, like, and oxygen tanks are actually really risky, because you could, if they get in contact with fire, they'll explode because it's straight oxygen, and it doesn't happen in the atmosphere because, there's other gases that balance it out, like, I know there's, noble gases which can't combine with anything, so they can't catch on fire, like xenon, or is it xenon? Xenon, as I think most people pronounce it, neon, argon, helium, probably. Those gases can't light on fire. And then there's gases that can, like, if they are straight gases. But those gases don't really affect it. It's other gases, too. Nitrogen probably keeps it in balance. I think nitrogen is not a noble gas, but it can still catch on fire, but it's not like oxygen or hydrogen. Hydrogen makes up a good amount of the universe, like a good amount of the atmosphere and space, along with, like, oxygen and nitrogen. Hydrogen is famous for not natural disaster. It's famous for one disaster in the 40s. Yeah, the 40s. I think people that know their history can already guess the Hindenburg, which is extremely sad. But we learned our lesson. Don't use helium. Don't use hydrogen. Use helium. Even though helium is 2 times as heavy, because it's got like 2 protons instead of 1 like hydrogen. Helium is actually lighter than all the other noble gases, so it would be the best option. Hydrogen is lighter, but it's not safe. So the pros and cons of helium for air blimps are much higher. But, I guess it was sort of an important lesson, but I wish we could have learned it without losing so many people. I feel so bad for everyone that died. I think the only people that were able to survive were people that just jumped off. And I know I'm going off on a tangent about hydrogen, but I was talking about gases in space. But yeah, hydrogen makes up a good deal of the universe. Just about everything was made from stardust, all the 90 natural elements on Earth. And, yeah. I'll make more in-depth videos on space. And as I said, I'll link all the articles that I used in this video in the description. And, in conclusion, space is very interesting, and there's a lot we still haven't found. There's a lot to discover about it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video informative. uh,